Continuing to work on the engine case here, I think I'd like to try and create the bases for the push rods here. These little pieces right here. This right here. Now, I don't think I'm going to create this piece right here because frankly, it's going to hide the other piece behind it. I'm going to see if I can get away without this particular part and just kind of go with cylinders. Let's see if that'll work. So I'm going to press Control 3 on the numpad to go to the left orthographic view, and let's press Shift Z to go to wireframe. And here they are right here. So what let's do is press Shift S1 to take the cursor to the center of the grid, and Shift and right click, and let's drop that cursor right in here. And from here, I'll just create a cylinder. Let's take it down to maybe 16 sides, and I'll type in 0.1 and 0.2 here. And I don't think I need any cap fills at this point in time, so I'll just choose nothing. And now let's scale this down. And while I'm still in object mode, I'm going to hit the R key and turn it a bit. Kind of scale it out, see if I can get it in place. And I'll also hit the comma key and go to local transformation. And let's scale out in the Z and maybe get it right about like this. So I'm going to try and both line it up for what we're seeing in the reference image, but also how it's aligned here. And also, my 3D model is a little bit higher here than the reference image, so we're going to have to make some adjustments. But what I'll do is I'll tab into edit mode and grab this edge here, and then I'll just hit ES and scale out a bit. And then let's get this part here, EZ, pull this up. There we go. And let's press Shift Z to go back to solid view, and I'll pull it out in the X-axis, and let's kind of get this centered up here. All right, that feels like it's a little too big generally for what I have here. So maybe I'll just scale that in a bit and then scale it in the Z, kind of like this. And then if we go back to the side view, let's take a look at where it's going to end up. I feel like this is going to need to come up some, like this. These probably can maybe come up some like this. And then if we take this edge loop on the bottom here, let's see if we can make something like this. What I'd like is to kind of have the cylinder kind of organically growing out of the base plate, kind of like we have here. And then I think I'll just place the cylinder behind it in there without it having to grow organically out of that. I just want to have that sense kind of in the front here that that's happening. And that's a lot of what I'm doing here, is kind of trying to get a sense of things, trying to just impart enough information so that the viewer kind of gets a sense that there's more detail going on here than there actually is. So I'm going to maybe tilt this, and now let's take this, and I'm going to hit E and S and scale straight out like that. And then what I'll do is maybe take this point and this point, and let's scale in the X, SX0, and flatten that up. And then let's do that over here. I'll select this point, and then I'll control click this point here. I think that's right. Let's press SX0 and flatten that up. And then let's take these and press SY0 and these SY0. So we just kind of make a square out of this, but it's still coming directly out of this. Because once we add a subdivision surface modifier, that transition will kind of smooth out a bit. All right, I think I want to take this now and turn it so it's even with what it's going to connect with. So I'm just going to take this and turn it a bit like that. Actually, I should probably grab these as well, huh? Let's do that. So now I can hit the R key and turn this kind of like this. And then once we've done that, we should probably take these edges here. Let's do that and just extrude these down. Let's just extrude these. I'll hit E and kind of just freehand bring them down so they're in line with that right there. Yeah, let's try that. All right, so we've got that. We may need to move this back a bit. These faces here, we could move these back to make room for that other cylinder. All right, so now let's take this and let's close this off up here. So this edge, ES, I'm just going to close that off. And then we can smooth it, add a subdivision surface modifier. If we turn on the cage here and tab into edit mode, we can see we're going to have some work to do here, but we can move this up and we can kind of add edges up in here. So we get this here. We could add an edge down here, add an edge in here, and maybe one in here as well. Let's try that. Yeah, so we're just getting that kind of smooth transition. We should probably go ahead and add that other cylinder into here. Let's do that. I will select this edge right here and press Shift S2 to move the cursor there, and then let's add a new cylinder right in here. Shift A, mesh cylinder. Let's bring it way down like this. Turn it. And let's see if we can get it in here. It looks like I may want to bring this up into right in here. Really kind of hard to tell with everything else going on in here. We could maybe take these and hide them for a moment. Just hit the H key. Then we can see this a little bit better now. So I think I want to move this right about into here. Let's take a look at if we're pretty well centered. Yeah, I think we are. Then we can select this edge, hit ES and scale in. We'll do the same with this. We'll just hit ES and scale in just a bit, like that. And then let's hit EZ and pull this straight down like that. So it just inserts into there, but I don't think we need to worry too much about having it come out of that organically in the same way. So now we could join this with this object. Let's just shift click this and press Control J. And then let's smooth it again. And now let's add a few edge loops in here and in here. All right, so now we've got those there. Let's go back to the side view here. Control 3. And let's move the origin to the center of the geometry here. I'll change back to global. And let's mirror this over. I'll press Shift D, Enter, Control M, and Y. And then I'm just going to drag this over like this. And let's see how close we are for this to work. Well, we're a bit off, aren't we? Let's go back to local, and we could bring this down a bit. Let's do that. Just going to take this and bring it straight down like this, and then take these and move them down. So we hit G and move this down into here, and select this and hit G and move this down into here. Let's bring everything back. I'll unhide everything with Alt-H. But then we've still got this piece here. We don't need this here anymore, do we? We could delete that cutter object. Let's do that. And lastly, let's work on cleaning this up. I feel like we've got so many objects here that are just sitting outside in the main scene collection that we need to kind of organize this a little bit better. So we've got this case cover here. What are these? These are those base plates that we just created, but here's the screws. So let's take all of the flathead screws and the case cover, and let's just create a new collection here and call it case cover. And then we can take that and drop it into the engine here. And these two we should probably put with the knuckleheads and the rods here. So where are these? Let me select this, and I'm going to hover over the outliner and press the period key. And here they are in the engine. So we could take these and the rods and these two cylinders here, and we could create a whole new collection for these. Let's press the M key, new collection, and we'll call it knuckleheads, since that's what those are. There we go. And that can now go in the engine collection as well. There we go. So that kind of cleaned that up a little bit in the outliner. All right, in the next video, we'll try and finish up the engine case.